VHS files contain spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's showtime. It's showtime.
Welcome to the VHS Files podcast with Jenny Lou,
So what do you want to do tonight?
Jason,
What about pizza and movie night?
Eric,
I want to rent a movie.
and Josh.
I want to go to a good video store so I can get a good movie.
And this is the movie of the week.
Get this pizza movie night started.
On that note, we're back with the movie of the week that, quote, made Guillermo del Toro become a vegetarian. Tonight we're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. Yes. As you can see from the decorations behind Jason, he is happy about this episode. He's always happy to talk about Texas.
Texas, of course. Why not?
He's from Texas.
Where am I from? Texas.
And he lives in Texas. Even when he didn't live in Texas, he would just brag about the fact that he used to live in Texas.
Yeah. And a cool fact, when Josh came over for my first wedding, we got to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake in Texas when he came to watch it. Mm-hmm. So, and he had never been to Texas at that point. So that was a cool little thing that we got to watch that here in Texas. So.
You know, it's nothing that you would write home about, but the fact that I saw a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in Texas kind of means a little something to me. Yeah, why not?
Sure. I mean,
it was cool. It was cool watching frogs here in Florida.
Yeah. So. There you go.
There you go. Represent. Frogs. It's doing great out there too. Great episode. Thanks everybody for listening to Frogs. We had a lot of fun recording that episode, so I hope you're having just as much fun.
I showed my mom the clip part with the Sam Elliott up there with the porn music going on. She was like, "You can't do my man wrong. Why did you do that?" I was like, "Sorry, I did it for you, Mom." But she's like, "You can't do my," and she still says he looks better with the mustache. So.
You know, I would never turn away a Sam Elliott with a mustache, but I think he does okay without the mustache too. I don't think he looks that bad.
Like we said in Roadhouse, he just really had like a 10 o'clock shadow. He didn't have 5 o'clock; it was 10 o'clock.
Right.
So, but yeah, great episode. Good pick there, Eric. I mean, I really never watched it, so I'm glad we got to do that. And now we're going to do another. I mean, we're doing one of the biggies in the horror world.
I mean, yeah, this is our second movie in a row. We're talking about the 70s, like. I don't know how often we've visited the 70s other than Halloween.
72 and now 74, 2 weeks ago.
We had 2 movies that are older than me.
Yeah.
For once.
We had to go back a long ways to get to these.
Yeah, I'm an old fucker. Yeah. Well, I'm just glad we're finally getting to another horror icon. I mean, this is old school. So this is even before my favorite guy, Michael. We're going to go talk Leatherface.
Well, I mean, Tobe Hooper, he's no stranger to this show. We've already talked about a handful of Tobe Hooper's movies. Well, if you consider 2 movies a handful, I guess. But one, a great movie, Poltergeist. We'll link to it up here. You can go back and listen to it. It's actually our first video podcast that we put on YouTube. Yeah. You can go back and watch that.
Don't say it.
And I'll link to the audio in the comments below, but we also talked about his classic movie Life Force that Jason loved.
Everyone's favorite Tobe Hooper movie, Life Force.
And that's one of the first things I'll say, talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1972, really his Tobe Hooper's first movie. It's crazy for me to think that the guy who did this movie did Poltergeist and Life Force. Like, it just seems like 2 completely different filmmakers watching this movie and then thinking about those. What do you guys think about that?
I'm a little disturbed because we got that, and he did Poltergeist. He did that. He also did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. He did the Salem's Lot TV series, and he did the Dancing with Myself Billy Idol music video. So we're going from Texas Chainsaw Massacre to all of this, and then like we talked about it in our Life Force episode. After that, his career kind of went. kind of went downward.
You mean after the great hit that Life Force was?
Yeah.
He still had a underground following, a cult following from all of his horror stuff.
Big. He was no longer a big guy. He wasn't doing any big major releases after that point. So
wow, I'm looking at his filmography here. I didn't realize Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 came so late after all that stuff we've already watched. Like it's after Poltergeist, after Life Force. So, but yeah, I mean, again, no stranger to this show. We've talked. We have kind of a love-hate relationship with Tobe Hooper, I guess. But it was finally time to get his first one, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Have a little conversation. Perfect time. We've got this new fucking requel sequel or whatever it is that's coming out.
That comes out soon, man.
As we're recording this, I think it comes out in 3 days from now.
Oh, okay. So it'll be out before this comes out.
Yes.
Oh, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
You talk about a franchise that is messy. I mean, Jason and I have talked about how messy the Halloween franchise got. And Friday the 13th. I think Friday the 13th is probably on the more straight and narrow path now compared to Texas Chainsaw and Halloween. I think Friday still probably holds the cake, though, for like best string of movies, I guess. But Texas Chainsaw, I mean, I think if you really nail it down, there's more Halloween movies, so there's more there to deal with. But, you know, this timeline has now gotten just as fucked up as the Halloween timeline. But we're going to go back and talk about the original, the one that started it all. And I kind of want to start my conversation with, it's apparent from the credit sequence of this movie and everything that follows that this movie is Rob Zombie's Bible.
Yeah, you're probably
think?
right. Yeah.
Like, as soon as it starts, it's like Rob Zombie wants to be this movie. Like, as a person,
not as a director.
He wants to be like if Rob Zombie could like legit physically walk around as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that would be his ultimate wish in life.
Wow, yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. He's dirty and dusty and rednecky and all that stuff.
And I mean that in the most positive way possible.
Even the opening line, the pictures and the monologue by John Larroquette, which is cool because he's actually done the opening line for this one.
John Larroquette, huh?
And like 2 or 3 other of the other Texas. He did the remakes. He's going to be doing the opening sequence for the new one that's coming out later this week as we're talking. And I never knew it was John Larroquette in the first one. I mean, when you get to the remake and you hear him talk after watching Night Court for years, he was a main character on there. I was like, that's John Larroquette. But you go back and when I was watching it this time, I can definitely hear it.
And a funny little tidbit of information, apparently, and this may have changed since I saw that this article was published, but I saw something that stated in an article from 2008 that John Larroquette claims that he, to this day, has still never watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Like he did the voiceover in the beginning, but has never watched the film.
Credited for 1974, 2003, 2006, and 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacres. So he's done 4 of them. And he's never seen them.
Since we're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974, none of us were alive then, but Eric's going to take us back in time, tell us what was going on in 1974.
We're sending you back in time.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, the Rumble in the Jungle, the boxing match between George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, took place in Zaire in 1974. A lot of people don't know that Ali actually burned his hand during this fight. It happened when he punched George Foreman in the grill.
Bad. That was bad.
21-year-old Michael
like
Kittredge opened his Yankee Candle Factory in 1974. Of course, some candle scents didn't make it to shelves, such as microwaved fish,
Oh God.
humid morgue, and I didn't wear socks today. Moving on, NHL goalie. NHL is hockey, Josh, by the way.
No, the one with the
one with
sticks,
the
Josh.
sticks?
The one where they hit each other on the ice.
Okay.
Andy Andy Fearless
Cool.
Brown
All right.
retired in 1974. He was the last goalie to play without the highly recommended face mask for protection.
Ooh, that's a man right there.
Yeah. Speaking of hockey, my local hockey rink just reported their Zamboni driver went missing. They hope he resurfaces soon. And finally, a very special new feature was added to the G.I. Joe. Hit it, Josh.
Yeah, dude.
The Kung Fu.
You guessed it.
And here is G.I. Joe with Kung Fu Grip. G.I.
Is this a
Joe
Chuck
has
Norris
hands
movie?
that grip. Fingers you hold open and let close.
Yes,
Hands that
I got
hold
it.
on with a
Kung Fu Grip.
The grip you help Joe use in self-defense. G.I. Joe with Kung Fu Grip. The hands that grip.
Yeah. Kung
That's
Fu
awesome.
Grip.
That looks totally different than the G.I. Joes I had when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm probably gonna upset some people, but I never had GI Joes
Well,
as a kid.
you don't
What's wrong
upset
with
me.
you?
I had a handful of them, but I was more of a He-Man kid.
Oh,
Also,
I had He-Man too.
Yeah,
Ninja
me too.
Turtles. I had some Ninja. Oh, and I had some Thundercats.
Oh,
actually.
Thundercats.
Yeah. but anyway.
Thundercats, Silverhawks, He-Man.
Silverhawks.
Because
Silverhawks
basically
was my
all
jam.
Silverhawks was a different version of Thundercats. Even used a lot of the same voice actors.
Hmm.
The bad guy is in both.
Mhm.
It's Mumra is the other bad guy that's in Silverhawks.
Mm.
I was like, that's crazy.
Wow.
So
Excuse me.
science.
It's gonna be featured in every episode now. But no, GI Joes and Transformers. I don't know what it is, but I was more into GoBots and Silverhawks than Transformers and GI Joe. I don't know why.
Transform, but I had GoBots too. You remember the what's the ones that were the rocks? They had their own cartoon too, but they were rocks, and then, they were basically Transformers, but they would turn into rocks and roll around. That was a whole cartoon. I can't remember the name of it. Somebody tell me the name if you're watching.
That's ringing a bell.
I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about, though. Yeah, leave us a comment if you know what Jason's talking about.
I'm old.
Did they transform, Jason?
Yes.
Let's transform back into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre here. So I wanna hear about everybody's first experience with this movie. I actually didn't see this until later in life. It wasn't one of the regular ones I saw as a kid. I actually saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 before I saw the first one. I'm interested to hear Eric's first time watching this.
Yeah. I was older.
About
I was probably
30, 32.
No,
33.
This one I definitely saw probably in high school
Last week
when my buddy was working at the video store. This was certainly one that we picked up, as we tried to see all that horror that we hadn't seen previously.
Did this movie have a reputation? Like, is that kind of what drew you to wanting to watch it, or was it just one of those
we didn't really have any like movie fan friends or anything like that. It wasn't like movies were popular. Yeah, I mean, this even without that influence or anything like that. Yeah, absolutely. It was it's considered a classic, and you would even know that as a kid in the 90s that, didn't have the internet or anything like that. Yeah, it was infamous.
It was infamous to me, and it kind of pairs along with Hellraiser. Jason and I have actually talked about Hellraiser in one of our previous episodes.
Link here.
But it's kind of lumped into the
here.
It's kind of lumped into the same sort of area of movie as Hellraiser for me, because this is another one of the first movies, or the first franchise sort of movies. Like I said, I saw the second one first. That made me kind of like feel sick watching it. Like, it was so gory and gross, and the subject matter, and it was like just icky and just made me feel gross watching it. And there's a specific scene in the second one. If we ever talk about that, I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but somebody like kicks a wall or something, and all these just like guts and stuff spill out onto the floor. And I remember seeing that for the first time as a kid and just thinking, oh, like I was almost physically ill. And I don't get like that with movies at all. But that one did it to me.
Of course, you were a child.
Well, yeah. And I think that's why I sort of put off seeing the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because I was like, I don't know if I want to get back into that whole aspect of things just yet. But yeah, in this movie, definitely, I mean, from watching Summer School, I probably saw Summer School
yeah.
before I saw this movie.
the somewhat biopic of Jason and Josh, Chainsaw and Dave.
Like when Leatherface went on that strict diet of human flesh, he had to cut out chicken and fish completely.
Dave, I agree with you. I'll go a step further. Sure, Leatherface. He wore a mask made out of human skin and he hung people on meat hooks. But hey, we've all got quirks. I've got them. You've got them, Dave. That's what makes this character so compelling. Thumbs up from me.
Same here.
It's definitely showing its age now, but I understand where people are coming from when they say it's one of the greatest horror movies of all time. And it's like, but it doesn't, it's funny that I feel that way, but it doesn't like make me excited to watch it ever. You know, like it's kind of a dirty and icky movie, and I'm not always all that thrilled to watch it. But yeah, I still enjoy it. I guess its
watchability factor probably varies depending on who you are, but there's no denying how effective it is. And you mentioned the opening credits and the voiceover, like everything in this movie makes it feel like it makes it feel like a smut film or a documentary or like found footage, or, you know, there's minimal score, the news reports in the beginning, the text in the beginning, making it, you know, saying this is an account of what really happened. You know, all of it doesn't feel like a movie in many ways. It feels like you're kind of watching something go down. And watching it this time, I was really noticing how it kind of plays out, except for like maybe the first act. After that, it pretty much plays out almost in real time. Almost, you know? Yeah. So yeah, that I think is a big reason why it gets under your skin, because it's not being cut up and given to you in pieces like a movie is. After that kind of initial thing, for lack of a better term, cut up.
Yeah, cut in pieces.
But like, you know, for instance, we're getting ahead of things, but you know, for instance, when pretty much once Sally starts running from Leatherface, there aren't a ton of cuts in like time breaks or time jumps, other than her passing out. Even her getting picked up by the gas station guy, you get to watch him tie her up. You watch it. You don't get to skip any of that. You watch her get tied up. You watch her get put in the car. There's a good bit of driving that you watch as he's poking her with a stick and telling her to shut up, you know, like stuff like that throughout this whole movie. Lack of score, like I mentioned, it really makes it feel less like a movie and more like you're just watching it happen.
That's exactly what I said. I watching it this time, it made me kind of like, we talk about a lot about how score changes movies and things are different with music underneath them. I really realized how important it is to not have score sometimes, because I watched the remake, the 2003 remake, I think is when it came out. I watched it today, and that movie has score all through it. And while I do think it is one of the better remakes of a classic horror film, I can see where all of that kind of cheapened what the original was, because when the shit's going down in this movie and people are running and chasing each other, like all you hear is the screaming and the chainsaw. You don't have anything else working with your emotions in this movie. It is literally just the screaming, the yelling, the running. It's all just a complete barrage of shit hitting you at one time.
You don't have the quickening violin music. You don't have all that going on underneath. But watching it, there is actually a little score, but it's not what we would consider score. It's literally noises. I mean, it's not from the characters on screen. It is literally just like grunting and weird squealing noises, and that's all you hear. If you turn a volume up really loud when nobody's saying anything, that's all you hear. I mean, but like I said, there's no actual music really going on. So I mean, the score is literally people just making.
Yeah, there's some droning score here and there.
Yeah,
there's some like just some like random like clanking of like cymbals, things like that just make. It's not really like music that make it. It has no rhythm. It's very uncomfortable. It's very raw. The whole thing is just so raw.
And to go back to what you said, I mean, this feels like you're watching almost a home movie, a home movie of someone being massacred. And, you know, while I do like the remake, it feels like I'm watching a movie. whereas
especially it's Michael Bay's Platinum Dunes who did the remakes. Right. So you're gonna have some lens flare probably here and
I
there.
do kind of remember liking that. It's been a long time since I've seen them, but now I kind of want to go back
and the kills are a lot more over the top, gruesome, and bloodier.
I do remember that. Yeah. I remember a longer
more.
scene with Leatherface, somebody on a table doing more business.
Those aspects of it are a bit more in depth, and I can see they're trying to be very psychological with it in the remake as well. There's a lot of psychological stuff going on here too, but yeah, I mean, but there's stuff in this movie that I think is far worse and gross than the stuff in the remake. Like when you get into the Sawyer's house and there's just fucking chicken feathers everywhere, bones, body parts, disgusting. All of this stuff. Like it's like the worst episode of Hoarders you could ever see.
We're talking about that's every house in Texas, man. We all do our house. I got a chicken feather room here with bones. So
let's talk about the beginning where, right after those,
well, hold on. We haven't talked about why I like the movie.
Nobody gives a shit.
I think it's apparent why you like this movie.
Well, we talked about when Josh saw it and you saw it, but we haven't talked about when I saw
it. Tell us when you saw
it. Today.
First time?
Yeah, first time. I pulled a Eric. I waited till I was in my 40s to watch this movie. This was a rite of passage to be a young boy in the state of Texas to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre with your buddies at a sleepover or at your house or something like that, and your mom not supposed to know, but my mom liked horror movies, so it was okay.
You're gonna watch this movie and squeal like a pig, boy.
Whoa, we're not doing Deliverance here. I didn't come from Alabama, so but yeah, this was the myth of this movie growing up in Texas as even a kid, because of the whole opening sequence of this is based on true events, blah 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 blah. I mean, we all were scared. If you were out somewhere and you heard a chainsaw even running like that, this movie pops in your head because you've been fed this your whole life growing up here in Texas. I mean, even like I said, it's not a true story. It's not real. But even our parents and through the mythos of this movie, we were told that Leatherface was in prison at Huntsville Prison, which is the next prison over. The girl in the movie, it was in a sanitarium in Rusk, Texas, which is up the road. They make you believe that this is real. Like they caught the family. They're all in death row in Huntsville.
So you don't worry about it. They're in jail, so you don't have to worry about it.
But
as a kid.
But then they say, but did they catch all of them? They this stuff like that, like parents tell you to scare you to not pick up hitchhikers, to not be wandering through the woods by yourself and go in these old houses, and stuff like.
Sure.
It's almost like the whole what is it, the urban legend type thing.
Yeah.
That really Leatherface became an urban legend here in the state of Texas. But yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this movie. Like I said, my mom let me watch this movie, and as a young kid. But I've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and all those. I do prefer this over Part 2 because it's more of a visceral horror film, where Part 2 to me seems like a comedy.
It's bonkers.
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't seem like a comedy. It is totally comedy.
Changed. And then we get back to Part 3 and it kind of becomes a horror movie again. But yeah, I mean, this movie is just like, if you know anybody from the state of Texas, they will probably tell you this whole story. Oh yeah. And it's not just me where our prison is. If they were out from West Texas, it's going to be they were in prison at the next prison next to them.
Yeah, I can attest to that, because even for me, just like being a young movie fan and hearing about horror movies, you hear about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh, it's based on true events. And you start believing that guy could fucking be out there. Like, that was a big thing about this movie too, is I think it's one of the first movies that really sort of started that this actually happened.
Right. I mean, if you're going to the movies in 1974 and you see that, there's
you're believing this shit happened.
Yeah, there's no way you can double check it and fact check it. I mean, you just got to go, oh shit, really?
Well, and that's the thing is, in a sense, he's telling the truth, because a lot of the story is based on the serial killer Ed Gein from Wisconsin back in the 50s, I think. And
interestingly, also Psycho
did the same thing,
based on Ed Gein, and also kind of tricked its audience with.
And the same thing in Silence of the Lambs, and so on and so on. This one killer which back then they didn't call them serial killers. They didn't do that till I think Ted Bundy. But he inspired all these different films. And but so in a sense, it is based on true events, but not into the state of Texas.
Inspired by true events.
Yeah, inspired. But even Tobe Hooper said it when he made this movie. He took that. I mean, he took the Ed Gein thing to run with, but he was literally talking about the state of the world. Like even in here in Texas, he said he was watching the news out of San Antonio because he went to school at I think the University of Texas over in Austin, and just the ongoing horrible news, Vietnam War, Watergate, blah blah blah, all this horrible shit that the government's lying to you about, this, that, graphic violence on TV and everything. And he said, well, I'm going to make a movie about this shit right here, real life that could happen. And then I'm going to throw some little bit of this crazy guy from Wisconsin that like to run around in women's skin and make lamps out of whatever, human head cereal bowls and shit like that. So I kind of like what he did. So he just kind of portrayed how he felt about society at the moment. And him saying that it's based on true events was his stab at the U.S. government and stuff, saying that, this is all real. So he kind of did the same thing.
Well, that's the other thing that kind of puts this movie in the upper echelon of horror is, on the surface, you can look at this movie as a bunch of kids running away from a chainsaw killer. And it probably appears that way to anyone just looking from the outside in. And even for me, I've seen this movie multiple times. I picked up on more in the movie this time watching it than I have probably ever. The fact that they start this conversation about Saturn in retrograde and how that's affecting the planets and the astrology that's happening. Like, it's almost like they're setting this movie up. That's like, oh no, all of this is happening because the stars are aligning just right. I never picked up on that shit before.
It is a deep conversation that she's having with them. It's like, this happened to them because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or the right place at the wrong, whatever you want to say it, because this is the way it happened. So.
And it's funny because one of the working titles for this movie was supposed to be Saturn in retrograde. Like,
well, I mean, I didn't think that that's crazy that it was almost the title of the film.
And it also, like, it goes to show you how much we can read into movies sometimes, and how much this dialogue might not mean what you think it means, and how people will put words in the filmmaker's mouth, and maybe that's not what the filmmaker intended. All that kind of shit. Like, it's funny that we're even back in the 70s picking shit like that apart and going, oh, was he trying to say that with this? Or was this really just a girl having a conversation about astrology because she likes astrology?
It just seemed like a character thing for me. Like, she's the astrology person. I mean, obviously kind of a foreshadowing that something bad is going to happen.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What do you guys think about the van scene when they pick up the hitchhiker?
Well, I've got one better. How do we feel about Franklin?
Saturn is definitely in retrograde for Franklin.
Poor guy.
I mean, dude falls trying to take a piss, falls down a hill. Hey, don't put your friend who's in a wheelchair at the top of a hill. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably just good advice for.
No.
Or better yet, let's push him into the high grass out in West Texas that is full of fucking rattlesnakes. I'm going to push you into this grass that's 3 foot high and let you get bit by rattlesnakes. Well, you can't tell because your legs don't work, but you're just going to die of poison.
Right. Hey, what's that? What are those holes in my leg? I didn't feel anything.
I didn't feel that.
I'm dying.
It's a big Western Diamondback rattler just bit me. It's all good. I'm all right. Just cut my leg off. I can't feel it.
Poor dude got skinned up.
My question is why was Franklin even on this trip?
Well, Franklin was wondering the same thing. Well, he goes, you regret taking me? Why did you take me? Yeah.
If he didn't want to go and you regret having him here.
Maybe he did want to go.
Why the fuck did you bring him?
First? But, when he realizes, oh, we're driving across Texas. It's hot as shit in here. I'm uncomfortable. I'm with two couples. I'm the odd man out. Like, what is the point of Franklin anyway? I mean, other than the fact that he brings them to that house, it's his fault.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's their house. It's Sally's dad's house too, because they're brother and sister, and it's his dad's
grandpa's.
Yeah, our grandpa's house.
Grandpa's.
I thought he said dad.
Didn't Sally say she stayed there?
Yeah, in the nursery.
It was the grandpa's house, though. It wasn't her house.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
this was my first time realizing. Sorry, that the whole reason they were driving around was to check the cemetery.
The grave. Yeah, because
I had forgotten that. So like, it's all because now. hold on. We're just gonna call him the hitchhiker. Okay, so it's all because the hitchhiker did that, right? All that shit at the grave site with the flashing camera. That's all just he's an artistic fellow.
You catch that when Drayton Sawyer sees him on the driveway later, and he's like, "I told you not
These
to."
These are things that I had not connected before.
Yeah,
you know, like everyone knows this movie top to bottom. Right. I had seen it a few times, but for me, I wasn't paying that much attention, I guess.
Honestly, I probably would have told you I know the movie top to bottom until I watched it this time, and then I was just like, "Wow, why have I never picked up on half this shit I'm seeing now?"
It's a lot tighter. Like everything fits together nicely more than I thought it did. I thought it was just kind of wild.
I mean, how long ago, Josh?
Tight.
How long ago, Josh, did you realize that when he put the blood on the side of the van, he wasn't doing it, he was marking the van?
Well, yeah, I mean, they say that in the movie, and I'd heard that before, but tying that into the fact that they're talking about astrology signs and Saturn in retrograde and all that, and then the marking on the van, like all that stuff started to kind of connect for me this time.
Like a voodoo ritual?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a confusion thing that you can, hopefully you guys can clear up for me. They go to the gas station. Okay. Doesn't the gas station guy try to talk them out of going to that house?
Yes.
But then is that not him later? That is the cook? Is that not him? Yeah. So why would he try to talk them out of leaving when he ends up capturing them anyway?
I think honestly, truly, I think he just wanted to keep them away from the house because of the boy, the hitchhiker, Nubens, whatever you want to count, because he'd been around there. I think he really kind of didn't want people to know where they were at because it is literally right next door to their house.
But did he not see the marked van because they had the door open or something? I'm just trying to understand why he would, if they've marked the van, and who are you marking it for? Certainly the gas station guy. He's the only one that sees the van, right?
Well, if you think about it, while he's talking to him, he says, the fuel transport's not coming today. Oh, it'll be here later. Or he changed that story 3 times as he talked to him because I think he realized, oh, I can put these guys on a plate later.
You think that he did have gas the whole time? Probably.
I think so.
Okay. And Franklin's eating human, right?
I had the exact same question. I was like, so Frank is eating, or
he's got his cigar.
Frank is eating human meat, right?
His sausage. His meat cigar. His sausage cigar is made from human. Because he keeps looking at it like when he eats it, he's like, huh, it's kind of weird, doesn't he?
But they all ate it because he said, hey, I got some barbecue, and he's the only one eating. The other ones probably ate it too.
Yeah, but stupid old Franklin's the only one with it hanging out of his mouth. Yeah. I will say they do a great job of you wanting Franklin to die.
Now, see, I was sympathetic to Franklin.
I was because he's in a bad situation. He can't get around. He's the fifth person out. You know, you got the 2 couples.
You got 2 cute girls that are, well, one of them's
a sister. Well, in Alabama, that would work. But
I don't know about Texas.
No, that's Alabama and West Virginia, buddy.
Anyway, one's a sister, but still, I mean, he's the odd man out, like you say, and they're all having fun. He's like in the house. He can't even move around, like you say. I don't know. He's kind of sympathetic to me, but yeah, he's also pretty annoying.
Yeah, he can, but I also think it's not just the fact that he's in a wheelchair. I think he's mentally handicapped a little too. Like he's not really all there because the way they talk to him, like he said, he's just digging the knife in the side of the van, kind of looking around. Oh, I didn't realize I was doing it. You know, I don't think he's really 100% there.
Well, I did a little bit of research on the movie this time, and what I found was this was an awful production. They had to work in 100-degree heat in Texas at like 16-hour days because they had such a tight budget. They had to get it shot as quickly as possible. Of course, they went over. They overshot that. So there's a lot of bad stories from set from this movie. One of them is everybody's costumes. They only had 1 set of. And some of them, like the one that Gunnar Hansen, who plays Leatherface, wore, were like dyed, so they would match a certain color and everything. So they were afraid to send them to the cleaners because they thought it might screw it up and it would play with the continuity of the shots. And so hardly any of the costumes were washed, so everybody smelled terrible. The outfit that Sally was wearing by the end of the shoot was apparently drenched in so much fake blood that it was basically hard, like cardboard. And just the fact that the heat really got to everything. And but also the actor who plays Franklin was a method actor, and they weren't really aware of that because these were kind of relatively unknown actors. And when they cast them, they didn't realize that the guy who plays Franklin was method. And so he just stayed Franklin the entire shoot, and it got on everybody's nerves. And especially the young lady who plays Sally, like, because they're brother and sister, and he's constantly nagging her. Like, a lot of the arguments you see between Franklin and Sally in these scenes are her genuinely, like, upset at this guy. So, I mean, you've got all this stuff just adding insult to injury with the heat and the lack of budget, and then people are getting on each other's nerves. Like, even so much so that the other girl that's not Sally, I don't know her name, Pam, she got to wear shorts. And people started to resent her on set because she had a comfortable outfit. Right, everybody else has long pants
she had
on
shorts
and shit.
And a backless shirt.
So
she was more comfortable than anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like she had the comfortable outfit over everybody.
Yeah. I read that Gunner had to wear the mask and everything. It was like you said, 12 to 16 hours a day, 110 degrees, 7 days a week for a month. In that 100-something degree heat. And I'm like, wow.
And they only had one of each mask. So the one that he wears for a long time, like he had to wear that same one drenched in sweat.
And it was cool fact about where this we're talking about this stuff being out in Texas. The gas station is in Bastrop, Texas. It's still there, and they operate it as a barbecue shack and Texas Chainsaw Massacre memorabilia place.
That's awesome.
And it's only about 3 hours from where I live. But I have a close friend of mine who has a relative that he's a big Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan. He actually dons full Leatherface gear and goes and works there every now and then and does the whole Leatherface chasing people around, because you can camp there. They have a hotel there and you can have the whole experience, kind of like the thing that we were talking about at the camp near you, Josh, where they do the Friday the 13th thing. But yeah, this movie was very hard to make. Like I think that really helped with the horrible
sometimes
settings,
it does, yeah,
because it did help. I mean, it looks dirty, gringy, nasty. Nobody wants to fucking be there. They're scared shitless. I want to go home. I'm over this.
Yeah,
and I think it helped the film actually.
Sometimes it helps movies. I mean, like for better for worse, sometimes people go through hell and it ends up making the art better.
Yeah. And I have a hard time remembering where I've talked about this, but I know I've talked about it on some podcasts before. But like that's where I think a lot of remakes just fail on the sheer fact that
to solve a bunch of problems because of necessity, and
the shark was supposed to be in it more. The shark didn't work, so therefore it wasn't in it. Therefore you have more suspense. Like you think about all of those aspects of it, and that's why that movie is a classic. It's kind of the same thing for a movie like this. Like all the aspects of that are what make a movie like this what it is. And I again, like I said, the remake pays a lot of respect to this movie, and I think it is a very well made remake, but it still fails on just what this movie is. This movie is just sheer fucking terror from the moment it starts to the moment it ends.
And I think they really linger on Sally's terror later. Like, let's talk about Pam and Kirk finding the house here. I mean, Pam gets stuck on a hook and has to hang there watching, her boyfriend get
decapitated.
And yeah, they really just take their time with those moments, and you're just like, God damn, like that shit is brutal,
And the other thing, like another part of the iconoclast of this movie, I guess, is just like, there's always that first reveal of our killer sort of thing.
Dude, that's fucking awesome.
And yeah, this movie, and that's another interesting aspect of the filmmaking of this that I found out is when Tobe Hooper was cutting the film together, whenever he would have certain shots like the introduction of Leatherface, if you notice, that shot cuts up to him and you barely catch a glimpse of his face, and it cuts to the next shot. He intentionally would withhold like 4 or 5 frames from the film to make it that much more uncomfortable when shit like that happens. So you watching it, you're just as like adjusted to like what just happened as the person that's being attacked.
I love that whole sequence. Obviously, that incredible shot of her walking up to the house after Kirk gets hit, you know, that follows her up to the house from the swing. Incredible shot. I mean, that's like the shot of the film.
Yeah, because it's zoomed in on her ass. I know that's
it is zoomed in on her ass, but you know
that's why Eric's bringing it up.
It's a shot of the film. But yes, besides the ass, it's
the ass.
I mean, along with the ass, it's a great. I mean, that shot is just so iconic to me. Like when that happens, like when I think of Texas Chainsaw, that's the shot I think of is her hearing something and going up to that house. And I love when Kirk gets clobbered on, like you said, the reveal and that metal door.
Dude, the metal door slamming,
the sound design,
metal
like
door
the
slamming,
sounds,
so brutal.
like,
Of course, they mirror the
skin.
whole conversation of the cow killing the cow with the mallet. You know, Kirk is twitching and flopping around, and it takes a second hit. Yeah, all of that is just so brutal, and there's nothing added to it. Like we were talking about before, it is just clonk, the sound of the hammer hitting the head, and the sound of the body flopping around, and then him dragging in and slamming that metal door.
And it's not like the normal movie sound effects, like a hammer hitting or a door closing. Like it feels like it is in the moment, like they just fucking mic'd up those instruments.
It's like you're standing there watching it,
and
like nothing's dialed up for style. You know, it's just happening.
Yeah, I mean, you get that whole sequence, like you said, of Kirk going there, he gets whacked, pulls him in, the door slamming. They even did a good job of that in the remake too, of that shot. But I still think the other iconic shot, other than the very end, is when, like you said, he makes, and that's the thing, is Leatherface is smart. He knows they're there. He's making these noises to lure them in. Like he did it with Kirk, like the little, he's doing that, and he does that to Pam too. But I think the iconic shot is when she walks in the house and he comes at her, and the whole right out the front door, and he's grabbing her.
Yep. And
that's getting, to me is the iconic shot. You know,
yeah.
I mean, how many memes have we seen about that? It says free hugs, and it's Leatherface holding her. You know, who needs a hug? So I mean, and like you said, and then the other terror you see on her face when the couple shots you get of dragging, and they show, and you get that behind the meat hook shot, and you know what's coming. I mean, they're telling you, but they're like, there's no way they're gonna do it. They're not gonna do it. Oh fuck, he's doing it, and he just lays her up there.
And there's really not a sound of the hook going in. There's no like splorch sound. Like
you're like,
it just kind of like sticks her on it, and you're like, wait,
hey,
is she on the
hang
hook?
around for a minute.
Hook. Oh God, she's still alive, and then he just goes to work on Kirk. Goes to work on Kirk.
Yeah. But what's funny is the name of the movie is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We don't even get to see Leatherface till about the 35-minute mark of this movie.
And only one person is dispatched with a chainsaw in this movie. He uses it to cut Kirk up, but Kirk's already dead.
And then gets
he killed a door. He killed a door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. He killed Franklin with the chainsaw.
That's what Josh is saying. He did kill Kirk with the chainsaw.
That's true.
What do you guys think of like the look of Leatherface? Just the whole vibe of Leatherface as a horror icon.
I think it's fantastic. It's dirty, nasty. Like he's something really wrong with him. They're not a very wealthy family.
He's almost like childlike.
Yeah. So here's another one.
Yeah. So like he's like scared, and you can get, you know, like his. Now, who is the guy? Who is the old man? He's listed as the old man. Is he their father? Is he an older brother? How does he fit in with?
Well, he's Drayton
Sawyer. This is one thing that I'm going to get into about like comparing the remake to this one, is like they leave a lot of things open for you to either not know or interpret on your own in this movie. They do a better job of laying that kind of stuff out for you in the remake. Because, you know, you had the question of why would he tell them to not go to the house if he's just going to lure them to the house? Like, and it's kind of one of those things where like they just like to poke and prod, like they like to give them the opportunity to leave, but of course they know they're not going to. Like it's almost like a game
certainly
they're
toy
playing
with them. Yeah,
yeah. So they lay a lot of that out in the remake, and that's another thing that I think kind of helps that movie a little bit. Is you have a little bit of insight into it.
For a guy like me, explain what his relationship is to the hitchhiker and Leatherface. What is their relationship? They talk about Grandpa. I assume the hitchhiker and Leatherface are brothers. Is that a correct assumption? Help me out, guys.
They could all be brothers, actually.
I just don't know who. Yeah, the old man, as he's listed, the gas station guy, the cook, because he at one point disciplines them. But then later, the hitchhiker is giving him all kinds of shit and like doesn't seem to be even remotely respecting him.
He says, "You're just a cook. You don't."
Yeah,
do the
but
work.
like in the driveway, he gets knocked around, and yelled at, like disciplined by the cook guy. So I'm just confused as to.
I think
who
he's
he
the
is.
older brother. That's where
Older brother?
I think I'm going with, because I mean they're all Sawyers. Grandpa's around. I mean, when she goes upstairs, it's actually Grandma and Grandpa, but Grandma's definitely dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I could think of, because it really doesn't tell you. But I think in the newer one, he's like an uncle. He's not their dad either, I don't think.
Yeah, the remake sets up a whole lot more of the family, where it's really just the three of them and zombie grandpa.
Just quickly on
this.
Leatherface, one thing that I love about Leatherface and his design is that he has like a trail of smoke from his chainsaw. Like when he's running and there's like a to me that's part of his character. Like there's like a trail of smoke, like just gross, dirty chainsaw smoke behind him. It's part of the gross. Clothes are dirty. He's obviously got a flesh mask on. That's gross. He's sweaty. He's dirty. He's got blood on him and dirty clothes, and that dirty like coughing chainsaw is just such a cool visual when he's running and there's this trail behind him. You know what I mean?
It's a cool visual. And then the design of the Leatherface and all that's great, but like how practical really? Like if you were chasing somebody, wouldn't you just want to turn it off? You know, you might be able to sneak up on them a little bit better that way.
Well, sneaking up, but if you're chasing them, no, you want it running, because you ever tried to start a chainsaw on a whim? It ain't happening.
I'm just saying, if you got somebody that's running from you and you want to
in the chase, you want it on. You want it ready to go, so
Yeah.
you can saw when you catch him.
but you got to have like minimum distance there, man, so you're like close so you can get them. But if you're trying to sneak up on a motherfucker,
It would be easier to just put the thing down and just chase them.
Yeah,
catch
because
them, bring
chainsaws
them
are like
back.
the one I had at the beginning. It's a smaller chainsaw for smaller trees. It's still pretty heavy. So I mean, Gunner, and he's a big guy. That's one reason, like, because I don't think he was the original guy they had for Leatherface. Something happened with the other guy, and they brought him in, and they liked his stature. He's a bigger guy, but I think he can haul around the chainsaw a lot better than I can. And I even had that in my notes. As
Clearly.
like, I mean, he's a big guy, awesome for chubby guys who can fucking run marathons, because he's hauling ass in them damn woods. I mean, that chase scene with Sally is to the house and then all the way back to the gas station later.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're really getting their steps in for the day. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
most definitely.
And she's getting whacked with branches.
Tree branches and everything
Yeah.
else.
more funny behind the scenes stuff that was getting on people's nerves. Like Gunnar Hansen said that he did not like the actor who played Franklin, and when he got to kill Franklin, it was like the best day ever because he didn't have to come to set.
So they
anymore.
filmed his death last. So when
Oh,
you kill
man.
him, he's actually not coming back after that.
And what's funny is Toby Hooper also didn't really get along with the guy who played Franklin too well, and then saw him a couple of years later, and they had lunch together, and he realized then that the actor was method, and he was staying in character for the movie. And from that point on, like they continued to talk and were like great friends up until the time Toby Hooper passed away.
It wasn't Paul A. Partain that Toby Hooper didn't like. It was Franklin.
Yeah, he didn't dislike the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He disliked Franklin, but Paul was Franklin during the movie.
Yeah, I got you.
So,
Did Paul make people push him around in a wheelchair? Was he actually wheelchair bound? Do you know, or
probably not? If he
It'd
was
be
a method
interesting if
actor,
he made
I don't-
everybody push him around.
Oh, that would have led. Yeah, I would have
That's
fucking
some
hated
serious
that guy.
method right there.
I'd be like, so dude, can you actually walk? oh yeah, I can walk. Oh, I would have fucking pushed him out of the wheelchair. Like,
but where I was going with that also is the actress who plays Sally. She was not very fast at running, and Gunnar would consistently keep up with her. So he had to like slow himself down. So when you see him running and chasing her and he stops and he starts like cutting away at tree branches and stuff, it's because he was gaining on her too fast and he had to keep himself busy so he wouldn't get to her.
I agree. She did not have a great running form. Also, it's hard to run fast when you're screaming the whole time. That's the one thing that's not realistic about this movie is that I think if you're running, you wouldn't scream while running. I think you'd run, you scream when you get surprised. This is me scream, ah, and then that's how I scream when I'm scared. Ah, and then when you're running, it's let's hoof it. You know, I'm in the finals. I'm in the this is the Olympics.
Going for the gold, man.
Yeah, you run for your life. You're not going to scream while you do it. You got to go.
You pull a Reggie from Friday the 13th Part 5. You let out a nice big fat girly scream and then you just haul ass.
It's all about breathing. You got to keep it breathing because she does run a lot in this movie.
By the time this movie is over, I am so over hearing screaming that I'm ready to shoot myself. Like like the last scene of this movie is so difficult to get through for me.
Yeah, I was finishing it. I actually had to finish the movie today, like a couple hours ago, and my kids were in the living room. I was watching it in my bedroom, and you know that my older kids are old enough to watch it, but they were like, "What were you watching?" Because we just heard people screaming for like 15 or 20 minutes straight. I'm like,
yeah, you heard one person screaming.
Well, they screamed with her at the dinner.
Yeah,
for a while.
Well, they're howling and screaming.
Yeah,
but I would say this, dude. I thought it was. I would have to give one knock on this is like, you know, the whole chasing and things for horror movies. Not only does she jump out the window once,
twice.
She jumps out the window twice in the movie. And
2 window jumps.
And I will have to say, I understand, like you said, we're trying to do this whole, you know, one shot thing, chasing. Dude, the chasing to the house and then the chasing from the house back to the gas station. We could have edited that out. A lot.
Well, dude, this movie's already only like 80 something minutes long. Like,
yeah, it's 83 minutes already. So I don't know that you want to edit it too much out. But...
Oh, I mean, we still could have edited that. We could have done some more killing or something. You know, we could have maybe had another person that they just killed randomly.
That's true. Yeah,
you know?
Give a little more time for the Kirk cut up or something.
Yeah, let's show some, you know, cutting some stuff up. I mean, this movie's shot in August. Maybe do a little fillet. We're trying to get some ribs ready for Labor Day. It's only a few weeks away.
Yeah, football season's around the corner.
Yeah, football season's getting up, man. We got to have the brisket ready. Yeah. Brisket. So it's really Kirk.
Make some Kirk steaks.
Kirk steak. Skirt steak. Kirk steak.
Kirk steak tacos. What's the other guy's name? Oh, Jerry.
Damn it, Jerry.
Make some Jerry
jerky. Jerry jerky.
There you go. Some Pam. Help me out. Some Pam chops. Pam chops.
Pam chops. Hey, and Franklin Franks.
Franklin Franks.
You should write the menu for the barbecue place that's in Texas.
Yeah.
Franklin Franks. Jerked Jerry or jerked Jerry. We could do that too if you want to do a little Caribbean, Jamaican type thing on there. Jerk Jerry.
Damn, Jerry. You jumped in a creek for a burrito? What'd you do for a Klondike bar? Kill your wife?
You know, whatever. Oh, dude, I need to call this place and say, hey, I got some ideas for some food if you don't already have this.
If that place doesn't have Pam chops, then I don't know what they're doing. They're behind the
or even Jerk Jerry.
They're missing a fucking opportunity.
Or Frank, the Franklin Franks is, man, dude. Yeah,
Franklin Franks. Yeah, get that on the smoker. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right,
Sally.
Speaking of smoker, before we move on into getting to the whole thing at the house, the stuff that's in the pit when they zoom in, I can never make it out if it's a body part.
I couldn't tell either, but I couldn't, you know,
because the way she stares at it, you're like, I keep looking. Is it a heart, a toe? I don't know what the fuck it is.
At this point, you're not, as a viewer, like as a first watch viewer, at this point, you're not 100% sure if this gas station guy is bad or good, right? Like there's some reasons to look at this guy and go, oh, he's a little creepy, but he said he was going to go get the car and help her out. He hasn't come back with the rope yet. So yeah, I think she is looking at that and going, she's like us. She's looking at it going, is that, because we had a guy, is that he put her on the hook?
Is that a rump roast? Oh my God. Kirk had a tattoo on his ass.
But I agree. I was studying that meat myself.
Whoa.
Jesus Christ.
He was studying the Franklin pranks.
You could see the look on Eric's face change from fucking he was like, I just said something that's gonna get me in a lot of trouble.
I was studying that meat. Let me tell you. So anyway, I was studying that meat, and I couldn't tell. I was, I was like, is that a person? Is that a leg? It looked weird though. Like it didn't look like your average.
It didn't look like regular meat. I mean,
I'm thinking of like my normal cuts, beef, pork cuts. I'm like, nothing in there looks totally right. You've got some
no
weird...
ribs.
There's no like big old leg hanging there or anything like from a. It doesn't look totally right. So I think it's safe to assume that there's some human meat going on in there cooking. It looked pretty good though. I'm not gonna lie.
And we got the hunger.
The hunger?
Mm-hmm. That's how you become a cannibal, D. Look, you get one taste of delicious, delicious human meat. None of this stuff ever satisfies you ever again.
I mean, but right here, from this point on, like you get the gas station, Drayton Sawyer, when he walks back in with the rope and the burlap bag, and dude, the look on his face and his teeth when he's whacking her with a fucking broom. He gets her in the truck and he's like poking her. It's okay. I'm gonna poke you with this broom.
We spent a lot of time in that truck. Like all that
builds but it builds up this anxiety.
No, it totally does. And by the time you get in the house and man, that whole sequence really is to me what really makes this movie.
From the point we get to the house and
like
her nightmare starts.
Yeah, like as she gets captured in the gas station and you have to take the time to watch her get tied up as she's fighting him and then put in the car, and then you get this kind of long, kind of drawn out car scene. Maybe it's only a couple minutes, but it feels like a long time. Like I feel like a modern movie he'd go
click, click,
and she'd wake up at the dinner scene. But with this, we're going to see her get tied up. We're going to see her get dragged out to the truck. We're going to see the truck drive. We're going to see her have to get kind of harassed and tied to the chair. We have to watch her get tied to the chair. All that stuff really starts, like you say, it builds this terror. And by the time you reach Grandpa sucking her finger after they cut her finger.
Which they really cut her finger, by the way.
Yes, they had to really because they tried over and over again. It wouldn't work because of the heat and Gunner getting pissed. He took it off and cut her fucking finger.
Wow,
to get the scene done. That's pretty harsh.
That's pretty gnarly. I did not know that. I'm not a historian of this film. Yikes. So her screams are probably pretty accurate there, and that's a little uncomfortable. I'm going to be a little more uncomfortable next time I watch it.
What kind of chair was that she was tied to? Would it be an armchair?
Oh,
I had to throw an Eric dad joke in there. Was it an armchair? But dude, that looks great. The effects with the body parts, even at the beginning of the movie with the freaking decomposed, flesh on the skeleton, on the big statue that he built at the beginning of the movie.
The imagery of this movie is the other thing that makes it for sure.
You have to think that that Seven really took a lot of inspiration from this movie as well. I think the snapshots, the flashes of the crime scene, that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's all I could think of.
Oh God! How did I forget to talk about the opening scene with the fucking flashes that everybody fucking rips off?
It's all every movie, even in the remake.
It's great for this. It's great for this, but when each of the sequels continue to try and use that shit,
but it's so good.
They've
I've heard it in other horror movies
at this
too.
point.
In other movies, you hear that the camera noise, basically.
Yeah.
But what's funny is when you hear it, you think of this movie or the remake. Immediately, you know what the noise comes from. Like you hear, that's Jason. You know, you hear the ding ding. You hear that camera noise.
Right.
I think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre immediately.
Which is funny considering the absence of score. That's the things that have to fill that in here. That's why we don't. That's why that noise will always register as Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's the only thing we have to identify it with in that sort of a sense.
But I'd like that. We had Leatherface when we were talking about the beginning. You said the multiple mask. Well, when you notice when they show up and he's all pissed about, did you catch all the kids? Blah blah blah. He's wearing like the grandma mask, like he's the mother of the family, which is some of the Ed Gein thing, because they said he was, he was a guy, but he dressed in women's clothes, like women's body skin, to make himself look like a woman. So they kind of threw some of that in there. And then in the dinner table, he's got the another mask on. It's all got the blush and the lipstick with the nice dinner jacket and a tie.
Well, that was the only way he could have a personality. It was if they changed up the mask like that. And Gunnar Hansen said that, and Eric, you brought this up earlier, that he seemed like he was special needs.
Jason said that, but yeah.
I said that about Franklin. I said that about Franklin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's certainly he's certainly simple in some kind of way.
And Gunnar Hansen actually studied special needs people and
yeah, I mean, when he's getting yelled at and he's kind of cowering and, he's childlike.
Well, it's a scene that we skipped over at the beginning, toward the beginning, when he's catching all these people coming through the house, where we actually get to see the camera follow him. He goes and looks out the window and he sits down, and we get the real close up of his face where he's licking his teeth,
licking his
and
lips,
in his eyes, but there's something. It's like he's worried because he knows he's going to get in trouble if he doesn't catch all of them. Right. So it's like, I mean, he could totally kick the other two guys' ass. He's way bigger than they are. But like you said, he's simple. He might be a little slow, underdeveloped mentally, but he's the muscle of the family. So
he's the butcher.
He is the butcher.
And you guys brought up Sally jumping out the window twice, but like that first time when she's in the house, she goes upstairs and she sees Leatherface. There's no fucking hesitation, buddy. She just fucking runs out that goddamn window, and I love that shit so much.
Hey,
smart girl.
I even wrote that down. Sally's the originator of parkour. Parkour.
Hey, she goes out the second story the first time and just takes off. She's freaking hard ass, dude.
Wow.
Another question for you guys. The old man. Okay, the cook,
Grandpa.
He's a little.
No, wait.
No, not Grandpa. Okay. The other guy,
Drayton.
He's talking about Drayton.
His
name is Drayton Sawyer.
When do we learn that? So
the second movie.
He's He's.
I'm sorry. Am I boring you?
It's a long day. So he's kind of squeamish, right, about the killing part.
Yeah, because he kind of says he wants to walk away.
He likes to cook, but he doesn't like that they're about to kill her. Like he's getting the willies a little bit. He's a coward. Which is an interesting little wrinkle of like, everyone's crazy, everyone's a crazy killer, but like he doesn't really like the killing part. He just wants you kill it, I'll cook it. You know what I mean? What do you think about Grandpa? Why not get an old man? Why get a person and cover them in rubber?
And you know what's funny? The actor who plays Drayton Sawyer was 20 years older than the guy playing Grandpa in the scene.
What's that about? Oh, he's got a metal bucket.
I could do it in one swing, just like Grandpa.
Grandpa can't even hold the hammer.
Another fun production note, that's a real hammer that hit Sally in the fucking head.
Got cut. She got her actual head hit. Marilyn Burns.
She hurt herself pretty badly jumping out that window. Actually, she didn't do the jump out the window, but they got the shot with the stunt double, and then when she did the shot of her falling to the ground, she hurt herself.
Come on, Marilyn.
The stunt double. Really?
Stunt double got to do everything. And I'm assuming that Marilyn's the same girl that's going to be in the new
yes,
new Netflix one.
Yes, they said that.
I think so.
Interesting.
I mean, Gunners can't because he passed away, but
it's not. She's not listed in. By the way, Marilyn Burns is not. Oh, she passed away in 2014, guys. So
It's the
It's
same
character, but it's
Yeah.
not the same actress. I just was curious because I had not followed Marilyn Burns.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Sally, and
It is Sally. I know that. But
let's talk about that after we get done with this.
Yeah. Sorry,
me and Josh had we had a short conversation about this the other day. But that dinner scene, I think I'd read that they had to hurry up and get it done. They were running out of time with, I think, the guy that plays Grandpa. And they took them 27 straight hours to hurry up and get that whole scene done.
100-degree heat outside. The house was not insulated. The inside of that house was an absolute nightmare to work in, and that's another thing that led to everybody just having the worst time with this movie. Is the heat conditions, and then working in the house just was terrible for everybody. And also, Gunnar Hansen, even though he's a tall guy, wore 3-inch lift shoes to make Leatherface seem bigger, and he would constantly hit his head on the tops of the doors and whatnot.
But that whole dinner scene, like even before she jumps back out the window and runs off, the extreme close-ups of the eyeball, the close-ups of Drayton and Hitchhiker and Leatherface and Grandpa. I mean, we get a whole couple minutes of no talking. It's just that of pure freaking terror of what's going on.
It is, and
a nightmare,
the
man.
Close-ups
Just like
get closer and closer and closer till it's like,
dude, you can see like up into her eyeball, like veins.
You're just really getting the sort of wet, like veiny, close-ups of the eye. It's just so visceral. It's so sweaty and I mean, it's just she's terrified. I mean, I can't think of it's hard to think of a movie scene that portrays terror as well as that. She is scared absolutely shitless,
like you said, and there's no dialogue going on. Nothing.
They're screaming and yelling right along with her, which just makes her even more hysterical.
And God, dude, could you imagine being fucking sliced up with a straight razor?
I don't do that. I mean, straight razors in movies give me the willies, or scalpels like Halloween 2 or things like that. Like anyone slashing a scalpel around. Yeah, I don't like that shit.
Pet Cemetery. That's a good one.
Pet Cemetery, Murder in the First.
Hey, Trick or Treat with the razor knife on the Achilles.
Yeah. We just named 3 Achilles slices in a row.
Oh yeah. There. Top four Achilles slices.
Top 4 Achilles slices.
Top 4 Achilles slices. And you can't talk about Achilles from Troy.
No.
You can't use that one. But the whole thing where she actually jumps out the window, and now it's the sun's starting to come up. Like we've had this, like you said, not a lot of jumping around from time of day. It's like it's just a straight through flow of one night of fucking terror. After we ran into Leatherface in probably the evening time.
Right. Yeah. The only real time jump is when she passes out. I think, right?
That's really about it. Yeah.
Kind of in between the first kills and the second.
Yeah. But dude, like you said, when he's chasing her and he's just steadily cutting her back up with that razor knife, dude.
I know.
But I love the kill of getting hit by the 18-wheeler.
Fuck yes.
Dude, and you
what
see
a satisfying
the body go under the tires.
Yeah.
They didn't even do it. And I like that part. Because a lot of movies, they do that. They do the cutaway. You see the initial hit is done. No, you see the fake body rolling up under the tires all the way down.
This movie kind of breaks all the sort of normal rules of movies in so many ways. Like, and that's why like a modern movie just it doesn't feel, like you said, it doesn't feel the same because there's too much going into it.
Yeah,
this one just feels like. Just really like a documentary footage or something. It just feels gross, feels real.
This is another movie like very relative to Psycho. We've talked about, what's a movie you would love to go back and watch back when it first came out, like Psycho. Like, how did people respond to Psycho? Like, I can't fucking imagine 1974, you're watching this fucking movie, dude, and you don't know what is going on. No score, not like any fucking movie you've ever seen. And then the way this fucking movie ends, and I'm supposed to leave my fucking theater after this movie ends, and you don't give me a satisfying ending? Like,
well, it is in some ways satisfying. Sally escapes, but I know what you mean. It ends abruptly. Leatherface is throwing his tantrum. and it's loud and it's crazy, and then it cuts off, and all right, head home. Imagine you lived in Texas.
Yeah.
And you had to take a long country road back home after watching this shit.
It's just like what Jason and I talked about with Halloween. Like it's another one of those movies that puts that thought in your mind of like, he's still out there. And I think that's ultimately where the sequels to this and like the remakes and everything they're doing for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series is they're constantly just rehashing the same thing over and over again.
Well, that's what a sequel is. I mean, you can't abandon all of it, and it will never be as good as the original, no matter what you do.
And it's just like, and again, with the comparison to like something like Jaws, it was such a troubled production. The reason it is as good as it is because of what they went through to make it. It's hard for us to get a lot of firsts now. It's hard for us to be like completely blown away by a movie like this one would have been back in '74. You know,
right? I mean, it kind of happened again with Blair Witch. I think, you know, you can kind of look at Blair Witch as kind of a spiritual sequel in a way, or you know, a spiritual connection to this movie. Same with Psycho, where it you know, yeah, you're kind of towing the line of like, is this real, is this not? Audiences aren't sure. It's just a little uncomfortable. But yeah, in the information age, so to speak, you can't pull one over on people anymore. You can't. It's harder and harder to do things like that.
Yeah, and you had people that tried to do the Tobe Hooper thing and get like I Spit on Your Grave later, where they tried to make this really dirty, nasty, uncomfortable film and everything. And and it did. I mean, it got pulled from theaters because there are people like, it's too much and stuff like that. But then you got, you know, years later, basically when we brought about Rob Zombie earlier, that's all House of a Thousand Corpses is an homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Or Green Inferno, just as another one pushing the envelope.
Green Inferno is more like this age's Cannibal Holocaust. Only they're not doing what they were doing in Cannibal Holocaust. And
there are certain stepping stones, or
well, you can say that, like you said, the first Saw movie, it changed. We said that before in a previous episode. It changed a lot when that came out, right? And that led to us having movies like Hostel, where they just kept let's push the gore, disgusting factor as far as we can, and that's when they started doing those movies. So, but I mean, Tobe Hooper, as Josh has said many times, it was definitely lightning in a bottle in the state of Texas for him to do this movie in 1974. And I mean, I've read many reviews from renowned critics and everything, and they're like, this movie is a big part of the history of cinema. It's not just a horror movie. It is part of cinematic history.
Sure. And
not just horror history.
I can't disagree with that. However, and as much as I respect this movie, again, like it's not a movie that I crave to watch all the time. Unfortunately, I'm not like Chainsaw or Dave in summer school. I don't want to watch this movie all the time because it does make me uncomfortable.
Right. I mean, there's some movies that are like that, and that's part of why they're so renowned and remembered, is that they really freaking stick with you. And it's not necessarily a fun watch, but when you watch it, you're like, holy fuck. And then you watch some other like horror films, and you're like, wow, those really don't hold up to this shit, because this is. It's like
it's like recently you watched Eden Lake.
No.
And I've seen Eden Lake. I don't know if Jason's seen it, but that movie
and
that movie does not end
watch
well.
As well.
Yeah, and as good of a movie as it was, and I liked that first watch I had of it. Like, if we wanted to talk about it on the show, it'd be hard. It'd be like, oh man, rough. Like I don't know if I want to sit through that movie again.
Some movies are like that.
Yeah, the directors did their job. That's what Tobe Hooper wanted you to do. He wants you to be uncomfortable watching this movie,
right?
And I mean, like you said, with all the behind the scenes things of what was going on, his whole idea of wanting you to feel like society is really messed up. This is it. We are. We're discussing things in the backgrounds of, the backwoods of things going on. There are things that are horrible in the world. They're there. So beware.
We talked about Frogs on a past episode. We're talking about this now. We mentioned in Frogs how it was very similar to Night of the Living Dead. This kind of feels a lot like Night of the Living Dead too, And like, do you think everybody's just striving to make their own Night of the Living Dead?
I don't really think. I don't
Like,
feel
What?
Night of the Living
Tell
Dead.
me how this is like.
Yeah, you
Night of
have
the
to
Living
elaborate,
Dead.
dude.
Defend your point.
Well, because there was all of this emphasis on the social climate of the time, they worked that into the style of horror movie. And like, Night of the Living Dead, you know, makes it revolve around zombies. This one makes it revolve around small town America. In a sense, it's like they may not have the same setting and they may not have the same certain scenes going on, but they're kind of the same sort of like inspiration behind and what led to making some of our classic horror films like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, most movies that are remembered as being great works of art have a proper inspiration. They have something to say.
Yeah, and that also brings me to a point that Jenny and I had been talking about recently about like music. You know, certain music you connect with immediately and you instantly like, and that's fine. There's other music that you grow to love over time, and movies are the same way. I didn't feel the way I feel about Texas Chainsaw Massacre now, the way I did when I first watched it. You know, and a lot of other things, like a popular one that's been going around lately is Malignant. I did not respond well to Malignant the first time I watched it because I was expecting something that I didn't get. But going back and watching it as the filmmakers intended, quote unquote, I can kind of hang with it and have fun with it. But the more you watch something over time, the more you get out of it, and the more we start to do like we do and dissect movies and what are they really trying to say with the Saturn in retrograde and blah, 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 blah. Like, we've got this time to really earn this education about these movies that we have, and where we might not be giving some newer movies the benefit of the doubt that over time we're probably going to grow to love them. You know, like, we instantly judge movies on how bad they are, like right off the bat. Whereas we probably would have thought a movie like this wasn't that great when it came out because we didn't understand. We didn't understand what they were trying to say, you know?
No, I still think it would have been awesome because it happens in the state of Texas and a guy's killing people with chainsaws and they're hanging people on hooks. I would have later found out that, oh, now I get what he means. But as a kid, I loved the movie because people were dying by chainsaws and hooks. So,
well, I'm sorry if you like our Almost Famous segment. We haven't done it in the past couple episodes because honestly, there haven't been very many famous people in the movies we've been talking about.
Gunnar Hansen is the almost famous person in this movie because he had such a big following. He's basically it.
He or Toby Hooper, I would say, would be your two qualifiers. But Jason, you got some taglines for us?
Yes, I do. And as usual in this episode of taglines, I'll tell you the ones Hollywood did and the ones I did. And I did realize when I started doing these, there was really only one for the original. So a lot of these are like down the road, like for the DVDs and special editions that have come out. And they threw some good ones in there. So they're not all from the original 1974 timeline.
Noted.
Once you stop screaming, then you'll start talking about it.
It's so bad that I'm afraid it's real.
I think it's real.
I
think it's real.
It's real.
Oh, I should trust in my gut. Damn. That's garbage.
I wrote that one down because it sounded like a 12-year-old wrote that one for Hollywood.
It's so you'll scare and then anyway, go ahead.
It might have been a 12-year-old with the budget they had. That's probably all they could afford.
The 12-year-old that played grandpa.
Yeah. What's for dinner? ... You are.
That's fake.
That's real.
That is me.
Yeah.
So that's 1 and 1. 1 and 1. I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of these. Hey, we can have a winner. We got 7. Okay, so we're 1-1 here, Josh.
You're going down.
All right.
America's most bizarre and brutal crimes.
Real.
You're both correct.
2 to
2. 2 to 2.
2 to 2, baby.
Yay.
Oh, let's see. You are the other white meat.
That's fake.
Fake. That's fake as shit.
It is fake. Before the knife the machete, the glove, there was the saw.
I think that's real.
Yeah, that could be real.
You're both wrong. I wrote it. They're not the Bradys. They're the Sawyers. What's for dinner?
Fake.
Real.
It is Jason. So Eric is ahead, 4-3. Last one. Who will survive and what will be left of them?
I'll say real to guarantee my
That's
victory.
fucking real.
You are both correct, and Eric wins. Eric was playing the numbers game at that point. That's actually on the 1974 movie poster.
Nice.
But yeah, oh yeah. So Eric won. Hey, I actually got a couple of these. I stumped both of you guys. I'm good.
Yeah, you are good.
I still got a few. I still got it in me. It's been a while since we've done tagline.
Still got it, baby.
And that brings us to Top Kills.
This thing's heavy. This is my mini sledge. I used to use this regularly.
Jason, you're the Texas boy.
Oh man,
your top kill.
This is hard.
So he hates going first because he has to pick one.
Yeah.
Oh no, because I like all the kills in this. I mean, the Franklin kill's awesome because, like you said, it gets kind of annoying.
You can only pick one, Jason.
I'm gonna go with Kirk. The OG right off the top kill with the door slam scene.
Yeah,
that still gets me every fucking time.
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
it's just from the first two hammer hits with the quivering on the ground and then the door slam. And then, of course, he gets cut up with the chainsaw. He's, like you said, he's the one he gets sliced and diced, decapitated.
Yep,
So,
that's a good one. That's
Kirk
a good
Stakes.
one.
Kirk Stakes.
The convulsing on the ground is really unsettling. Yeah.
He sold that. That actor did a good job.
Yeah.
All right, what you got? We'll go Josh. We'll let Eric go last.
I'm happy to have Franklin out of the movie, so Franklin's my top kill.
And I do like that because that's like a jump scare.
Yeah, it's a great jump scare. It's kind of the best jump scare.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll go with the hitchhiker getting run over by the truck.
He goes with the
it's
bad guy
satisfying.
getting killed.
Yeah, I know, kind of a wussy move, but it's satisfying. It's a great effect. It's gnarly. I like it.
We didn't talk about the hitchhiker guy in the beginning of the movie. Who the fuck would pick this guy up? I want to ask someone from the 60s and 70s about hitchhiking.
Oh my God.
And how often anybody ever actually picked up a fucking hitchhiker, because I don't even like giving my friends rides half the time. Like, I'm not picking up a stranger off the side of the road.
Yeah, I'm like, Josh, my truck's broke down. Fucking walk.
Yeah, they just left the cemetery where somebody has made these weird tableaus with bodies they've dug up. This guy literally I assume, is just hitchhiking away from the cemetery after he just did all that shit. There's police everywhere. You're trying to figure out what's going on, and you pick up this dude. Anyway.
As much as I hate Franklin, he does have a really good line when they pick up the hitchhiker. He goes,
I think we just picked up Dracula.
I don't know. We're not, obviously, there wasn't a lot of quotes in this. I'm going to throw one quote out, as I liked it when he says, "My family's always been in meat."
My brother worked there. My grandfather, too. My family's always been in meat.
A whole family of Draculas.
That's the only really quote of the whole damn movie.
a quote of the movie right there.
I had a quote too. It's Jerry. That's one of my quotes.
Ooh, God.
And then
fuck you.
And then I think it actually might be Jerry that says, that's the last goddamn hitchhiker I ever pick up. Which was true. Turned out to be true. It was the last one.
Grandpa's the best. It won't hurt at all.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Getting hit in the fucking the hammer is still you're gonna feel that initial hit, even though you're gonna be unconscious or dead afterwards. So.
You know, I didn't think this movie would have a lot of good quotes either, but I wrote a few down. It's just, when they get to the old house where Sally and Franklin used to live, or their grandpa's house or whatever, somebody says, it kind of looks like the birthplace of Bela Lugosi. And then, well, I mean, you know, as much as I hate Franklin, he has some good lines in the movie. He's like, if I have any more fun today, I don't think I'll be able to take it.
Yeah, he's really feeling bad for himself at that point.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
It's an obligation at this point.
It's
an
in your
obligation.
contract. It's in your contract, dude.
I'm supposed to do it. If I don't do it, someone will be disappointed, I assume.
All right, Jason.
Well, The Good. This movie is shot in the great country of Texas. Toby Hooper did a great job of the point he was trying to get across with the film that we've all read and learned about through our multiple watches. Well, at least me and Josh, I think Eric's watched it like 2 times. And
you son of a bitch.
He does a great, I mean, he does a great job of what he's doing. He wants you to feel uncomfortable, and you do that from the very beginning with the graveyard photos, the graveyard totem, to picking up the hitchhiker, and on through the whole film to the crescendo of the dinner and then her getting away in the back of the truck. That's probably my best thing about the whole movie. I mean, you feel that terror through the whole movie, and he did a great job. It doesn't have any lulls. You feel this bit of anxiety as you watch this whole movie. And it's like Josh said, it's not a movie you watch regularly, because it makes you feel that way when you watch it. So my bad. Franklin gets annoying. The character of Franklin is, I think we could have done a little bit of some editing, like with the chase scene and everything. My ugly, they had an editing mistake. And Josh pointed that out in another episode about some editing. That when they pull up to the old house, there's no blood on the side of the van. Even though they all get out to go look at the blood, and then when they finally get out of the van, it's there. But when they pull up, it's on the right-hand side, the passenger side of the van. It is perfectly clean.
This movie's a piece of shit.
Fuck it. Throw it in the garbage. I forgot what movie.
This again.
I forgot what movie Josh was talking about, where he said that it won an Oscar for editing, and it had a bad. Whiplash.
Is it Frogs? No. Oh,
yeah. But yeah. Overall, fantastic movie. I love that we got an icon out of Leatherface for this. It's just, I wish they would have done a better job with sequels and had some kind of continuity.
Yep.
Eric, how do you feel about this one?
Okay, well, The Good, I just have that it's a raw, visceral experience. I when people ask me what I think the scariest movie is, this one is up there. It's hard to say what you think the scariest movie is, but this movie is scary without the jump scares. There are jump scares in this movie, but this movie is scary because I mean, it's just scary. It's just like we've talked about over the course of this podcast. These people are so helpless, so isolated. It takes its time with these really terrifying moments, and it lets you feel like you're there. And to me, this is one of the scarier movies I can think of. This is a top 3 scariest movie for me. I don't like making claims of this is the scariest movie, but this movie is scary. I think it's scary, and it gives me the willies, and I don't like it.
Is Showgirls
I
your
do
scariest
like it.
movie?
I do like it, but it scares me. What?
Showgirls is your scariest movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm scared of girls. Is that what you mean? I don't know. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. Anyway,
it's a Scream 2 reference. Jesus.
Oh, okay. I've seen Scream 2 like twice. I don't give a shit about that movie.
Yeah, we all know. Go back and listen to the Scream episode linked up here.
Yeah, I have a link right here.
Okay, so link right here. So bad is the broom takedown. I don't like that he takes her down with a broom. It's stupid. He had a club later. Just knock her down with the club. Why do we have to beat her with a broom? It's stupid. A small quibble. I think this movie's amazing. And then ugly, Leatherface. Leatherface is ugly.
Pretty damn ugly.
Yeah,
And
that's the whole
Leatherface, point. Guys, Leatherface is so ugly that his portraits hang themselves. You know what I'm saying? He's so ugly. He looks out the window, and he looked out the window. He's arrested for mooning. You know what I'm saying? He's so ugly. When he stepped outside, he got fined for littering. You know what I'm saying? He's so ugly, guys, that when he plays Mortal Kombat, Scorpion says, "Stay over there." It's pretty ugly, is all I'm trying to say.
I'd be cool if he took it off, like the mask off, and he looks like Fabio.
Pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Hair comes down. He's like, "Hey," it's all
takes the mask off. He looks like
it's kind of like when Batman takes his cowl off. The eye makeup comes with it. You know, it's all gone. His teeth and everything, and he just looks like a normal guy.
Damn, Leatherface is a sexy bitch. Well, the good for me is the same that Eric said. The just the visceral experience of this movie is really what I mean. Even though I don't enjoy watching what's happening, I really respect the movie for what it is. It accomplishes something that I think very few filmmakers have been able to accomplish, with the raw, visceral feeling of feeling like you're watching something that you shouldn't be watching, and something that could genuinely like terrify the shit out of you. Yeah. And the bad, I would have to say, is Franklin for sure. Like, I understand his point in the movie. Like, I can understand why he is grating on everybody. Like, it's just another sense of anxiety they're adding to the situation.
Sorry, but it's also a burden for our characters to have to take care of him and wheel him around. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, like, I feel sorry for Sally when she's having to push him through the woods later, and then, like, it's, you know, I feel bad for Franklin because obviously he doesn't want to be there and whatnot, but it's just, he just complains too much, man. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Jerry! So, the ugly, I don't know. I don't really have anything ugly to say about this movie. I mean, the movie's pretty ugly, but I think that's the point of the movie. So
yeah, the ugly is a good thing in this movie. That's part of what makes it good.
Yeah. Like I said, I just pointed out an editing mistake. That's it. I mean, other than that, the movie's actually pretty damn perfect for what it is.
It's pretty rad, pretty great film.
And that kind of makes where this franchise has gone sort of disheartening. The first one for me a little bit is it's like, this could have been one really good thing, and they had to go and make a franchise out of it, and it'd be fine. Like, there's some of the sequels that I genuinely do like to watch, but it's literally just the same shit over and over again. And I guess you could say that about Friday the 13th, which I still continue to watch over and over again. But just something about this one, like, I have a lot more fun watching Friday the 13th than I do any of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff. And I'm anxious to see what they're going to do with this new movie. Hopefully it'll be good. I hope it blows me away. Like, I'm always going into a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie wanting to like it.
Sure, let's go. I'm ready for it. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe we should talk about it. I don't know.
Maybe that's the point I wanted to bring up when we got done with this. Is me and Josh, they gave a little bit of the plot away for what's the movie is, like they always do, put out a little bit of plot synopsis, and it sounds like all they're doing is making the new Halloween trilogy. Because it's
they're bringing back Sally.
Back Sally, and she's going to hunt down Leatherface, and these kids are in the middle. And I was like, when I read that, I mean, immediately when me and Josh were talking about this episode and other stuff, I went, they're making the new Halloween trilogy.
Yeah, they got a winning formula. They're going to try to use it.
Yeah, right. And that's what Hollywood does. It's like, oh, this is working. Let's do that.
Right.
It's a cycle. Yeah, I think when the Texas Chainsaw remake came out was right when we were starting to make remakes of the classic horror movies. And they did one that turned out to be pretty decent. And I think they've suffered from that point forward. And now we're getting...
I still like the Friday the 13th remake, and you do too.
Well, no, I'm not talking about Friday the 13th. I'm talking about Texas Chainsaw
Yeah, that's
Massacre.
what I'm talking about. But I mean, how like Hollywood took off with the horror remakes.
Sure.
And I still disagree with all the haters of Friday the 13th. I think they did a great job.
But I think with the Texas Chainsaw remake is the one that kind of kicked it off. And with it being fairly decent, there was a high standard to hold the next ones that came to, like Nightmare and Jason and Halloween. So, and then now you've got Halloween starting this requel trilogy sort of shit. So it's like, oh, well, they've started it. Now everybody else is about to jump on that bandwagon. Scream's done it. Now Texas Chainsaw is going to do it. You know,
because Eric tweeted out a whole timeline for Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, and if you go and do the Halloween one, it looks similar.
Yeah,
we have the original run, and then we had the H2O because it got rid of all of them except for part 1 and 2, and then we had the Rob Zombies, and then now we have the new trilogy that goes only to the beginning one, which is what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is doing now. So it's the same thing. It's pretty much exactly the same layout.
Yeah. The biggest thing that's ridiculous about this one is they've already done what this one's doing already with Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah, they already.
Texas Chainsaw 3D was supposed to be a direct sequel to this movie.
And they brought back a lot of the original cast for that.
And now they're doing it again.
That was gonna be cool. It's just because me and Josh went to the theater to see this movie, and Josh pretty much about walked out because it is a horrible fucking movie. The only saving grace is the eye candy of what's her name, Dardario, Alexandria Daddario. That's the only saving grace of that one. But yeah, the whole timeline and everything. And like I said earlier, I didn't care for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. It's good, but it's just a comedy. To me, it's exactly what they did with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies when they got the 3, 4, 5, and 6. They just turned Freddy into a comedian. But that, I mean, we got, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. We got Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger. I think that was one of their first films.
I'm kind of anxious to give that one another shot because that's another one that people have kind of picked apart and found little things hidden in it.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember it being a very bad movie, but I kind of want to go back and watch it now to see what all these people are talking about within it.
I have that one and I've never watched it, so I'm kind of curious now.
The one I haven't seen the most is actually Part 3, the Leatherface one, and that was a hard movie to find.
I actually have that one on Blu-ray. I used to watch that one a lot when I was a kid. I actually have seen that one more than any of them, and a lot of people don't really regard it in that high of a light. Like a lot of people think it's the worst one, but my retort to that is have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D? That movie is a piece of garbage.
Yeah, and I did like the Platinum Dunes Michael Bay remake and the prequel to it. I thought they made it; those were okay, but like you said, the 3D one. I saw the Leatherface prequel for where he becomes Leatherface. There were aspects of that movie I did like, but it's not a great movie overall. And the ending kind of wraps up kind of quick. So, but
I haven't seen that. That's the only one of the series I haven't seen.
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to when that one comes out. It's kind of cool. We can see what happened to him. You know, that's kind of cool to find out. You know.
And it's because Texas Chainsaw 3D left such a bad taste in my mouth that when that one came out, I was like, no, I'm done with this fucking series, man. I mean, that's kind of where I was at when I saw the trailer for the new one too, but I'll give it a shot and maybe we'll talk about it on here. Would you like us to talk about it on here? Leave us a comment below if you'd like us to talk about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Throw it at us. If you want us to do it, we will do it. We'll do a small episode. We'll do a short one.
We may be the VHS files, but we don't mind talking about newer movies. We would like talking about newer movies. So if you want to hear us talk about newer movies, just let us know. We'll damn sure give it a shot.
The 4K files. 4K.
Yeah. Well, I also want to let you guys know we're giving away a digital code for Halloween Kills.
Yeah, that's a new one, isn't it, Josh?
That is a new movie code. So if you would like a digital copy, you have to like this video. You have to leave a comment on this video that says Evil Dies Tonight. And you have to go to our Twitter page at VHS Files Podcast and leave us a comment that says Evil Dies Tonight. And we will pick one lucky winner for the digital copy of Halloween Kills. All right. So, but next week, Alien. Eric, I know you're excited. I know you're excited for Alien.
Yeah. Top 3 film for me. Maybe top 1 film for me. I love Aliens.
Are we doing Alien or Aliens?
Alien.
The Ridley Scott classic. And that also goes into our theme for next month. We're doing Green Month. All the movies we're going to talk about have some sort of association to the color green. All right. We'll be back next week to talk Alien with everybody, and make sure you tune in to find out if you won the Halloween Kills digital code. And until next time, be kind. Rewind!
Fuck out!
You've been listening to the VHS Files podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks, you've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies!
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos!
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative!
Thanks for listening. Oh my God.
No way, dude. An actual chainsaw. What a psychopath.
Oh, and that's our Jason, everybody.
He even hung up some bones.
And bones and hooks
He
and
hung up
Texas
some bones.
flag.
What an animal.
Wow.